Welcome to another edition of the Nebraska Soybean Board Weekly Market Roundup. It is being brought to you by Nebraska soybean farmers and their checkup. As you are going to hear today, we know these markets, especially right now. This is a day by day. We're going to talk a little bit about these headlines, how not to react, how to prepare as we see information coming across the screen. We'll also talk about the ag outlook for them. And I find this interesting. I wish I could have been recording before we started this program because this isn't the first time, folks, we've seen those numbers. So we're going to dive more into that and a lot more. So stick around. More is up after this.
Meet the champions of innovation in the heart of Nebraska. They're not just farmers, and they nurture more than just crops, pushing boundaries and turning challenges into opportunities. They trade knowledge and know-how, and their dedication doesn't end at harvest. It's in your every bite and every drive. The future of food, fuel, and fiber, and the future of Nebraska starts right here.
Welcome back once again. As you can see, joining us today, Kyle Bumsted, along with Shawn Hackett. And gentlemen, I wanted to kind of start off on that whole headline thing. I think this has been kind of a reoccurring discussion that we've been having, reminding people not to play or not to react, shall we say, on headline details. So, Kyle, I want to start with you, and let's talk about these tariff talks and how people seem to be grasping what they see popping up across their screens.
Well, that's a good question, Susan. What you see is primarily those headlines, and obviously the algos pick them up, trade them, and we might sit here for 15 minutes or half a day later. Then another statement comes out and says, "No, it's not going to be that way. We're going to wait, or we're going to do. There's going to be reciprocal tariffs and things like that." So it's very, very tough to swing with the headlines because you can't react quick enough. You can't react faster than computers or the algos. So I would caution, especially anything that comes out like over the weekend, be very, very careful doing anything on Sunday nights in these markets. As I've said many times before, what you do on Sunday night or during a thin night trade, you can regret by the close the next day. So I think that's a lot of the case now, because you see a headline that drops early in the morning, and by late in the afternoon, by the time the market closes, it can be completely negated and you're on the wrong end of it.
Shawn, I see you kind of shaking your head in agreement, and you also made a statement before we started the program. We've been through this before. We should kind of be prepared.
Yeah, we should be prepared. And the action plan is simply this. If you're a physical buyer of corn, if you're a physical buyer of wheat, and we've had these big rallies prior to this latest correction, and you've been wanting or needing to get some cash purchases made, and you start to see these headline risks bring a big down day or a big couple of down days, and you have something you need to do, this is when you take advantage of the headline risk in your favor. While we can't predict 1 hour from now, 1 day from now, and we can't act fast enough as quickly as the computers can, we still can take advantage of the swings and the volatility to bring more money home on the farm by making better cash sales and purchases when these volatility spikes up or down get carried away. That's what we did the last time he was president. That's what we're suggesting now. And I think that'll be the strategy for the duration of his presidency, so long as he continues to be who he is.
So many folks wonder, when it comes to the retaliatory side of the tariffs, if that's really going to have a strong hold on agriculture versus all other possibilities. What are your thoughts? Either one.
Well, that's a good question. It is very tough to say how the retaliatory tariffs are going to be. What are they going? What are they going to tariff coming in from the U.S.? Are they going to tariff grain? Are they going to tariff meat? What are they going to tariff? I mean, that's the question. So you really need to kind of see the breakdown of what they're going to tariff coming in from the United States, just like what we're going to tariff when it comes into the United States. So, we want to see their list. They want to see our list, and then we'll kind of get together maybe here on the playground and see what we can kind of figure out for the game.
So, Shawn, USMCA was something that was created by the Trump administration. I mean, I shouldn't say created, but workings through that administration with the other two countries. And now it seems like he wants to push it away and not have that great working relationship we've had with both countries.
He ran on a platform of creating more change. He still feels that the practices of these other countries, not just those two, are unfair. He, according to him, won a landslide victory on this tariff platform that he's going to create fair trade. Mm-hmm. And I believe he feels that if he doesn't take action, that he's going to be viewed as somebody that didn't carry out the word that he had during his presidency. Now he may do a bunch of things and then later on regret doing it, or maybe alter it, or backtrack, or cut some trade deals to soften it. But I think he feels he absolutely needs to show that he's doing what he said he was going to do, whether the market's like it or not, or whether it's actually, in fact, the right thing to do. Getting to the question about what are the retaliatory tariffs, I break it down something like this, like Mexico. They're in a mega drought, especially in corn areas. They've had terrible crops. They're on board having another one this year. They're desperately in need of corn. They're not going to get quantities of corn of the size they need at the prices they need other than from the United States. I do not think in that particular instance they would target corn, because it would only hurt themselves, not the United States. In my opinion, that's how I would view what might be these retaliatory targets. It won't hurt what they really need.
You know, the other headline grabbing attention on Thursday, Friday was the Ag Outlook Forum. This is something that we see every year. And you both agreed. So Kyle, I'll throw it to you first. This isn't the first time we've seen the discussion on these acre numbers and bushels.
No, Susan. In fact, I didn't even look at it today because this is the second time, almost the third time we've seen this. Now, a lot of folks are saying, well, this is the first look we're going to get. Well, we saw it last fall when they had their projections out last fall. We saw it today when they came out with the projections today. We're going to see it. And at the end of March when they come out with the acreage projections again. So this is old news. We've been trading this news, or this news has been out in the trade for months already. And case in point, when you look at how the market has traded, corn has been buying acres all winter long since September. A lot of folks are saying, when are they going to buy acres? When are they going to buy acres? Well, the acreage buying has been going on since last August, September, because as I've said many times before, when you look at that December corn versus November bean spread, that thing is traded in as tight as 2.21, 2.22, and that just favors corn. I mean, there's your acreage buying right there. And a lot of folks you talk to when we're setting the crop insurance price, they've already got their fertilizer on. They've already got it prepaid. They've got their seed prepaid and things like that. I get it. Yeah, you can let go of some of that prepaid stuff and maybe switch. But once you've got the fertilizer down, once you've got the gas on for corn, you're committed right there and then at that point. So there's a lot of corn that's committed already in this country.
What are you thinking, Shawn, as you look at all these numbers and just the discussions coming from the forum?
Well, at the end of the day, once we get through all of that, which Kyle just mentioned, of all these reports, all these estimates, it still comes down to weather during planting season. And it's really about the fringe acres, right? We're not going to change the core acres. We're not going to change what Kyle just said about what's already been committed and guaranteed and that sort of thing. But the fringe acres, those acres that can, in fact, go either way. If we're going to plant the big acreage number that everyone thinks we're going to plant, we need to have a very good early fast planting season. Our forecast suggests that we're going to have a very cold, wintry, late spring frost kind of a spring planting season, cold soil temperatures, which would not allow those fringe acres, or wouldn't dial in those fringe acres to get actually planted. So I think ultimately what we're going to wind up having planted will be considerably less than what we're suggesting now. And I think once we get through the planting intentions report, it's immediately about that, and then we didn't modulate one way or the other. That's how I'm seeing it, and I'm actually quite constructive that we're going to get a switch away from corn on the fringe, not in the core.
So let me follow up with this to you, Shawn. Every week, every Thursday, we get to see the latest drought monitor. Why is it not getting as much attention when you see that dryness spreading across the Western Corn Belt?
Well, it's just early, right? It's just a little too early to get too excited. All you need is one good week, a few inches of rain, and everything will look fine. I just think the market is hesitant to front run that just yet. I think we actually need to get further into the season. We need to get wheat out of dormancy to really get the market looking at that and saying, is that going to be something that's going to be a problem or not? I don't think dryness in the spring is the problem. I think it's cold, wintry, frost type weather that's going to drive the market. Remember last year we had a frost in Russia, Ukraine that got the grain markets all excited and actually created the best crash selling price for the year. We might be looking at a repeat of that, but the frost potential happening here, not necessarily Russia, Ukraine.
I want to switch gears and take a little bit of a look at the livestock side. Kyle, what is your takeaway of this cattle complex? I mean, if it has not been a roller coaster week, This has been an interesting market option.
That's right, Susan. We started out on Monday and Tuesday with a decent rally. It kind of felt anemic. Then Wednesday we had a decent setback. Thursday come rallying back hard. I mean, we got these feeders within a couple dollars of their all-time highs again. That feeder index just keeps right on pushing higher. We saw some big sales up here in the Sandhills on Wednesday, and that pushed that index up almost $1. And Southern, and switching gears over to the live cattle side of things, a lot of cash trade between that 196 and 197. 197 traded in Kansas on Wednesday on about 450 head. And then we started seeing 196 and 195, a little bit of 195 trading here in Nebraska and Iowa here on a Thursday. So the board come in line with the cash. And if this thing kind of messes around like it's doing, February did go off here this week here. February went off at noon on Friday. And you've got April and the cash sitting at par right now. So what makes me kind of concerning, or not necessarily concerned or something that I'm looking at here, is the fact that as we move forward, we could build that premium back in the board. And when it comes time for April to come through here, if we still see the subdued cash, or cash keep working lower, you're going to see some big deliveries out there. I think on the front end, we still got some decent amount of cattle out here to work through up front, and our weights aren't coming down. I mean, we had some cold weather. Yes, I'll get that, but our weights are still high, and we haven't seen that seasonal move lower yet as far as cattle weights yet.
All right. Speaking of cattle, let's look at the ones that come of the dairy side of it. Shawn, what are we going to see into this market? We're into the first quarter and headed towards second.
Well, we're coming off what I call the avian flu hangover. We had this massive concern last year about the first time that the dairy herd has ever had and got inflicted with avian flu. We heard reports of all kinds of production problems, sick cows, and all that sort of thing. And so the market had a big surge on the fear over what that looked like. That has now peaked. The avian flu is coming down. It turned out that the production was not hit as hard as we might have thought. And when you lose that pound of flesh, that bullish flesh that was driving the market, it's very hard to get the speculators back on board with a new idea right away. You have to go through a liquidation. We're moving into seasonally stronger production here into the spring. Demand very, very suspect right now with the consumer here in the U.S. And so I've been expecting, and we've been anticipating a correction into the spring. We are getting that correction. And I think it has more to go. It doesn't mean there can't be better prices later in the year. It just means right now, I just think we're suffering from avian flu indigestion, and we have more to go through to get through that.
All right, gentlemen. Unfortunately, we are out of time. I really appreciate both of you talking to us. Kyle, safe travels to you, and we'll catch you on the airwaves coming up next week. A quick reminder to everybody, commodity futures and options do involve a substantial risk of loss, not suitable to all investors. And of course, information on the show is provided for educational purposes and is not intended to influence the legislation, government policy, or action. And if you happen to be at Commodity Classic this next week, looking forward to seeing you. And that has been the Nebraska Soybean Board Weekly Market Roundup.